everyone. How happy, what day are we on? Monday. We're on Monday. My God. The last day of February. And
Yeah.
and I am very, I love red. You know that I wear red the whole month. But let me just tell you, the amount of red, the amount of red that I have had to configure has been a lot. But I was very happy to see from last year. It was very funny. Um, my red dress is what I had. Like my red sparkly dress is like almost on the same exact day for the past last year and the 2020. I have had it. I have worn it on the same day. So that's pretty funny. Um, while Kaz is doing her bike, I'm just gonna do the rebounder. Um, this is the rebounder that I got from Bellicon last year, and hopefully we're gonna do um, some collabs this year to kind of get more information. And I just have my son's little, I don't know, it's like a 1 pound baseball ball that is for practicing that I'm just gonna use. This is the first time I'm doing a live like this with YouTube. If any of you have paid any attention this week on Instagram, I announced that on Friday, was that Friday? I was granted YouTube creator partnership, and so that's really exciting. So there'll be a lot more on YouTube coming, and so stay tuned for that. I hope if you're an Instagrammer, I hope you took advantage of the link and decided to go sign up. But I'm Curvygirlbeth over there as well. Karen, did we say we're gonna start talking about what's happened with the past 2 weeks, right? Because last week we missed because that was when I was at the beach and it was like the tundra. Oh my God, thank God we did not do it, because I did end up having breakfast with my one of my oldest besties. Basically, like right when we would have been going, and we were sitting outside in, I don't know what the temperature was, but it was, the winds were so strong, it was crazy, and the temperature was absolutely freezing. So, not quite like the winds that you guys were having, but I swear to God, it was like the leftover of like by the time it got to us, it was like the leftover of what you guys had. It was crazy. We said in all of our years, we've never sat through anything like that. And I had on a fleece. Oh no, I had my red velour jumpsuit. Then I had an extra heavy fleece jacket with a hood. I had my hat on, and then my red leather jacket over. It was like, what in the world is going on? It's crazy. So, should I kind of start, Karen, about how my week has been? And
well, it's been 2 weeks, lovely.
2 weeks, yeah. So in my 2 weeks, I think the last time we talked, I was very much on the straight and narrow with the medical medium, right? I think. And I think it was in that week that I learned that I was having some kind of reaction to celery juice, which I was having each day. And that was very sad, and I was a little concerned. And then I also realized that I was having a reaction to garlic. And so both of those things led me to do a little deep dive into mast cell activation, which is kind of has a lot of histamine issues with it. And then FODMAP is another area where people have sensitivities to certain things, and garlic is a big part of that. So as I reviewed the lists of everything that was on either either lists of aggravators for either of those concerns, it basically encompassed every single thing that I was eating. And so that kind of sent me into a little tailspin of what do I do? What do I eat? And it wasn't actually until yesterday that I realized that for my entire life, this has been my concern every single day of my life. Like every single day of my life, I've had to be concerned about what am I eating. And now, for many years, it's like, what can I eat? Like, what is not going to be detrimental to my body? And so, when I am typically trying to be as non-inflammatory as possible, when things like this come up, it kind of sends a little backslide and a little woe is me. Well, if I can't figure it out right now, well, if I can't eat anything, then I might as well just eat something that I like. So over the weekend of the when I was down in Oceanside, I just went ahead and, ate what the family ate, if I wanted to, of course. And so that was kind of how it went. And then, I don't know, some scam is calling. Sorry about that. I think that interrupts the whole thing, right? So, yeah, so that kind of was interesting. And although we didn't really talk about it, last week was National Eating Disorders Awareness Week. And that was something that I hadn't thought about in years and 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 years, until last year at the same time when I talked with Stephanie about it. And I realized, because I had been so focused for so many years, that binge eating was not part of my world anymore, which it really still isn't. I can say that I had one day that I ate pistachio nuts in pandemic last year, and I was like, wait a minute, what am I doing? Because I was just mindlessly eating them, and that's just not something that I do anymore. But I know that that's a real thing, and I spent many years in that world. But what I come to realize this now is that even though I'm not involved in those behaviors, the fact that I have to constantly be focused on food all day, every day, is definitely still an aspect of that. And but it's also something that is even trickier when you have lipedema, because I'm not focused on it for the what do you call the looks of it? What is that called? The
aesthetics.
For the aesthetics or the vanity. It's not from that perspective. It is from the, what am I gonna do physically for myself? And that just can get into that circuitous thinking where you just are just constantly focused. So that has been my experience over the 2 weeks with that. As far as my exercise goes, I did walks last week. That was my exercise. I did not make it to F45. The team that I've hired has, we have a lot of different hours, and really a lot of work has to happen in the morning. And so to get there in the morning last week was not really an option. And then to get there later wasn't either an option. So I just did what I could with my walking, and I will resume tomorrow with, I'll try to make my 4 days a week, but certainly 3 this week, and still have a couple of walks scheduled also. So, and here we are on the rebounder today. So, but I am getting back to doing my vibration plate. I guess I haven't done that maybe for 2 weeks either. My vibration plate each day for about 3 to 5 minutes only. And then Kaz reminded me that I also had given up in the past 2 weeks my daily dry brushing, which we'll get back as well. And so those are the things that, it's an ebb and a flow, and you have to give yourself grace when you have to switch things up, and know that just because you switch things up at one meal, or say you always do your walk at 7 in the morning. Well, just because it didn't happen at 7 in the morning that day doesn't mean that you can't do it at 7 at night, or figure out some other way, or figure out how to do a portion of it. So there you go. That's kind of my update.
Okay, so I'm on the bike again. I'm doing that daily, probably twice a day, because of my knee health. For me, it's still very much high protein, low carb, and a lot of exercise. So a lot of exercise is going in at the moment, but the right kind of exercise, and I think that that's very important, especially when we've got these illnesses. And today, for instance, is Rare Disease Day, which couldn't be more telling, because there's a whole bunch of rare diseases in my body that I'm constantly fighting on a daily basis. This is what's pulled me down over the last couple of months, but like Beth and myself, we're getting back up and fighting towards all of these. And yeah, I've had a few knockbacks in the last couple of weeks, just with my knees. And if you follow my page, then you'll see that my knees have been weakening again. I'm back in physio again on Thursday, and we'll see what we do to move forward. But I'm having to get used to using the bike now on a daily basis, because it is helping my knee health. So I do, where I didn't understand these things, I actually do understand it a hell of a lot more now, sort of moving forward. And building that muscle and strength around it. I want to go back to serious weightlifting, but I'm not allowed to. I'm being told don't do anything too strenuous. Sort of concentrate on building, concentrate on stretching. So yeah, we're sort of focused on joints at the moment and physical health, but more mental and sort of more mental and psychological, I would say, at the moment, because it's such a psychological thing when these things happen. It has such a, like, you feel like you're really strong for a period of time,
right.
And you think to yourself, oh my God, my body's doing everything that I need it to do.
Correct.
I feel really strong and I haven't had any problems, and then 2 or 3 weeks later, the problems arise and you're taken down, and you think to yourself, yep, I still have these illnesses, and it trips you up.
Right, which is exactly, which is exactly what
that's the part
happened.
of it that takes you down. That's the mental side of it, because you feel strong, you feel like you're connected with your body, and you think that your body is doing everything that it can, and it probably is, but then all of a sudden it will take you down without notice. So it can be like this afternoon, I was with a friend, we went to a shop, she bumped into a friend, and we were talking. She was talking to her friend, but we were standing still. And I don't know about you or the community, but for me, I can't queue.
Stand in a line?
I can't queue in a line, and I can't stand, because the moment I do, I relax in my heel, and I relax in my knee and my hip, and all of a sudden, my leg will just literally bow, because I'm not moving it. I'm just standing, and the pressure is too much on if you imagine these are the knee joints, and it's too much, it sort of pushes it back without me even thinking that that's what's happening. And I was standing in there, and I was having to sort of stand with my knees forward so that I wouldn't bow, because I could feel the joint in my knee getting weaker as we were just standing. If we were walking, that's totally different. Or if I was using the joint, that's totally different. But if you're standing or in a queue, it can be so temperamental. It's unreal. And you'd think it would be the other way around. It would be the walking that does that. But it's not. It's when you relax.
It's interesting because I saw your, I don't know, I think it was a story the other day where you were standing, you were showing how your knee will,
backwards. I was showing you in the clinic, right. In the mirror.
And I think I do that same thing. Like, I guess you can't really see it here, right? I don't think mine goes back like yours does as much, but and so I've had to learn to just be like this, relaxed, as opposed to, but I always feel like stronger when I'm standing with them straight like this, because I feel like I'm activating my knees and my thighs, and I feel like, oh, okay, everything, oh, I'm good. And then I'm like, no, that's really not good. Like, no. You're not supposed to be able to do that, right? And
no.
So holding that
I'm gonna attempt.
Is not a good thing.
I'm gonna attempt to try and stand up and show that. So, okay. Let's try doing it.
Oh, maybe I'm just trying to do funny things now because I don't know.
Okay. So my legs, can you see that? That's standing. That's where you should be standing.
Yeah.
And straight away, it literally pushes backwards.
Yeah.
If I push that back too much, on this one in particular, it's just that. But if I was standing in a queue, this is what happens. It pushes backwards.
Right.
And I have to sort of keep my knees like this. So I'm talking to someone and I'm just bending just to stop them from moving.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to keep that going.
It's crazy.
Because that pushes on the knees itself anyway.
Right. It's crazy.
Okay, let's try and get that back. Oh.
Over here.
Yeah, so that pushes on my knee. Whereas if I'm on the bike, because I'm pushing. So the other thing on the bike as well is what I'm learning to do is, let me try and push that down again, see if we can see my legs. Okay, so the muscle, the quad, is what's pushing me on the bike. I'm not pushing the bike I'm not doing it with my feet. I'm trying to move the pedals with my muscles. So I'm kind of activated in the muscle, So I'm not causing any tension in my knees whatsoever, but my quads, the insides and the outsides, are actually pushing the pedals. I'm isolated and pushing the pedals. Rather than if I was pushing with my feet,
right,
all of a sudden I can feel it directly into the knee joint.
Yeah.
So that's not going to do me any good. So I have to activate into the muscle. The muscle is hard. And then I start cycling through the muscle in my quads. And that's what my physio has told me to do.
Okay. Interesting. Now, did you used to do your feet?
Yes, of course I did.
Did your...
When you were a kid and you went out on your bike, you used you put your foot in the pedal and you push.
Right.
With your feet.
Right.
But now I push with my muscles.
Okay, but when you were an adult, did you do that? And were you prone?
No, I pushed with my feet, Beth. It's only because of what I've learned through musculoskeletal physio. And this isn't normal, to be fair. Most people would push with their feet.
Right. But here's another question, because this is another thing that happens to women with lipedema is, oh my God, I'm blanking on it. The thing that you get in your heel, what is that called?
Achilles.
Yes, but what's the thing that you get that women get? Well, men get it too.
Achilles tendonitis.
Yeah, I guess tendonitis. I guess that, yeah. Yeah. So, did you used to aggravate your Achilles when you did it that way?
No.
Okay, so that wasn't a problem.
No, because I've always kept that strong with calf raises.
Oh, I could do calf raises here, can't I? It's not easy. I'm afraid how that does my knees. Hey Nate, if you're still on YouTube, can you say that it's still working? I can't really tell. Yeah, well, it is every single day is a learning, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And that, I don't know if that's just us or if everybody experiences this, but I think that when you're so aware, you can't help it, like whatever. In the old days, there's no way I would have been at 3 weeks would I have noticed that celery juice was causing me pain. No way. No way would that have ever happened. But I'm so aware, and as Dr. Herbst always likes to tell me, like, your body constantly gives you messages all day, every day, and if you just would listen, you would have it easier. You would have an easier time. Now, I can't wait to tell her about this one and be like, well, so I listen, but then what am I supposed to do when there's absolutely nothing on a friggin' list? Like, what is there? I don't know. So it will be interesting to see what happens. Yesterday, I was so, okay, forget it, screw it. I'm going to start again on the medical medium protocols because I'm pretty sure that I feel the least stuffed up in general. And so I got up, I had my water and berberine, and then I was quick to jump to make I wasn't going to make celery juice, I was going to make cucumber juice because that's an alternative. So I was like, okay, let's see how cucumber juice works. And so, needless to say, I had 6 cucumbers and each of them was rotten. And I was like, okay, I guess we're not doing this today. Never mind. And so I was like, okay, let's go to breakfast instead. And I opted to have a keto day instead. So I said, okay, well, whatever. It'll work out to be how it is. So, yeah. So today I went to the grocery store, got the cucumbers, and this morning I made the cucumber juice, which tastes very fresh and like a cucumber. It's so bizarre. It's like, but for me, what I have realized is that my body just feels so much better when I'm not eating food like, like a piece of chicken. It doesn't feel, it's still there 6 hours later, it's still there. So, I think that, having the juicing in the morning of the water and the celery juice has just felt, has just been easy on my system. So we'll see if I'll be able to do that. And then, so anyway, we'll see.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? Any fitness questions? Anything that you want to ask?
Okay, let's see.
Anything about joints?
On your body, that is.
Yeah.
That's the only kind I know about anyway, so. I'm not seeing any questions.
Next week, guys, we will be back to more of a movement pace rather than being on equipment. It will be more body movement.
Mm-hmm. And we can also use some requests. If you have some requests on what you would like, to see us talk about, or exercises you'd like to see us do, I can tell you that from my experience doing the F45 functional fitness, compared to being in the gym doing weight machines, is completely different, and my mobility is so much further along than it would have been if I was just doing the machines in the gym. I don't know if my strength, maybe I would have been able to move more on the machine in that period of time. I don't know. I have to go to the gym to actually see where am I in my strength on the machines. How does that compare? But I can tell you that and how I used to have, used to have to see each week whether I could sit on my heels or not. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So that flexibility is there every single time I go to F45. And then when I'm home, I notice how much simpler it is to be able to pick something up off of the ground, or to, practically getting with crouching is a little bit easier, and squatting is much easier. So it's fascinating to me.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go.
And you've got your biking gloves on.
Yeah.
I have everybody
See, that's an EDS and hypermobility thing because of, can you see that, how that joint?
Uh-huh.
And then on this one, it's completely different. Whereas on here, it's really, that joint really bends way far backwards. So again, this is my reflexology fingers. So I have to be very careful of the joints. So I use gloves to stiffen my joints, even whilst holding onto the bike, because if I push too much on the handle, that's what's going to happen to my thumb. Can you see that? How that literally comes out on itself. And that is something that all my joints do, but you can see it more in my thumb. My shoulders are the same. They simply click out. My ribs, I get subluxations. So, yeah, I'm constantly wearing gloves, specifically rubbered, and very hard fitting around the thumb, and at work as well. But I have to keep my hands and my thumbs really strong because of the kind of work that I do, because I also do massage and things. So I'm constantly having to keep my joints tight and strong.
Now, do you ever get tennis elbow?
No, because of the kind of workouts that I do, I'm very good at sort of not getting into that point.
Yeah. So when I was first out of college, one of my jobs was, I did reports, and for whatever reason, we had to write them. And so I got tennis elbow from writing reports all day long. And that was crazy to be at such a young age having that and not playing tennis, right? And then I had to go to therapy.
But then
for a long time. Like,
if you look at how you write, if I move my thumb and my finger, you can see that this muscle and this muscle comes in, and that's why that happens.
Yes. So it made sense. But the point is, like, most people are not having that, right? Most people are writing writing reports and not having that, or taking notes in school or whatever. But now it all comes to full circle, because that was like the early days of connective tissue disorders, right? That was when things were just starting to, really become apparent. But of course, nobody made any connection on that.
No.
And so it's kind of fascinating. I should actually call that physical therapist and ask him. It's interesting. So anyway, so that was a thing that, and then when I had Willem, then I had the same thing. I got tennis elbow, and then I got mother's wrist, which was from holding the baby, and that was really a crazy painful situation. But the way that I eventually turned that around was that I basically did only protein, because when I first had Willem, probably for the first 6 months, I would have once a week, because I was breastfeeding him for the first 6 months. Once a week I would have a brownie at Starbucks, and so I did have some carbs in my life. I mean, it was once a week, but still. I guess for my body that was enough to be aggravating. And the second that I dropped that at that 6 month mark, that all went away. Isn't that crazy?
Sounds crazy.
So, yeah, it is. We're reminded of the fact that we're extremely resilient, we're extremely strong in mind and body, and that each setback is a lesson that is leading you to the next lesson, right? It's leading you to the next chapter. So every single time, like, I can tell you 3 weeks ago, I would have been like, oh, maybe I'm doing this for the rest of my life. Who would believe that? I would never believe that I could do this for the rest of my life. But then the little stone is thrown, like, oh, okay, well, I guess that wasn't the bliss that I thought it was. Now let's see, how do we incorporate all the knowledge that has come from this trial, so to speak. And it's not something that I'm even willing to throw out because I think that it has a lot of merits. So it's kind of just finding, where is the where's the sweet
Everything
spot,
is trial and error,
right? Where is the sweet spot?
Everything that you do is trial and error. Everything that I've done over the last 17 years now. God, 17 years. It has been trial and error, and it is still trial and error. It is still, I don't know what's going to work for me, and I don't know what's going to work for you, but maybe what works for me might work for you.
Right.
That's it. That's the only answer you can ever give to anybody. Right. You can't tell someone what diet to be on. You can't tell them what exercise to do. You can't tell them what they should be drinking, eating, when they should be drinking and eating, should they be fasting, should they not be fasting. But you just can't, because nothing that works for you is going to be the same for them, because each of us is different. Each of us has a different makeup. Right. So you have to decide, I'm going to try certain things and see whether or not they work.
Right. And they're all nuances, right? Like
Yeah. And then you'll get your answers to those questions the same way I got my answers to those questions. But your answer will be different to mine every single time, because we're not the same person. You don't have massive amounts of hypermobility and EDS within your joints. Right. I didn't think I did have that, but then when I lost a lot of weight and I was left with the lipedema fat in the body, it has contributed to the onset of me understanding that I've got problems within my joints. When I was bigger, I didn't see it because it was covered and I had a lot more padding around those joints, so I wasn't able to figure out that was a problem. It's all come from losing weight and trying to strengthen my body and realising some of those joints I can't strengthen the same way that a particular personal trainer or somebody who's normal would. I have to do things in a specific way because that way it works for my body.
Right. And yeah, and the same thing with me, like across across every weight, bigger, smaller, there was always a little nuance that was necessary in each stage. I think that the one thing that is consistent, and obviously, people have to go through the rigors with their doctor and all that kind of thing. But I think that the one thing that is mostly safe to say for most everyone is that, eating a standard American diet isn't going to be helpful for anyone, whether you have lipedema or not. It's not going to be helpful for anyone. And not moving is not going to be helpful for anyone. So those two things, movement is key, and healthful nutrition is important. Nobody would have any, probably would I have had any kind of an issue with celery if I had been eating celery all of my life? Probably
because
not.
That's another thing that you've brought up this evening about histamine. So I've already told you that January, I started taking Claritin for antihistamine. I have ICs, so interstitial cystitis. It's not the same as cystitis. It's hypermobility in your bladder.
Right.
And I'm not the only person who's got it. There's lots and lots and lots of women who have got it who I've spoken to. And they've said that their doctors have prescribed certain prescription medications that stem to antihistamine. So I started taking Claritin just because I thought, let's see what an antihistamine does. Well, it's something that I'm going to be taking for the rest of my life because it has stopped the pain, it has stopped the irritation, it allows me to eat food with histamine and not have a reaction to it. Obviously, I don't set out to eat food with histamine, but if histamine happens to be in a food, like for instance, bone broth, I've been having bone broth for God knows since 2017, especially when I went into keto.
Right.
And I found out that histamine is in bone broth. And actually, last night when we were talking, and you got me to get out the autoimmune protocol book that I haven't had out since 2017, and I was looking at the specifics of what certain foods have got. The bone broth in there doesn't have any histamine in it at all, which is really interesting.
What do you mean? Why does it not have? So the way that I learned about histamine in bone broth is because of the long cooking nature of it. That's how it develops.
So this, I don't know what this does, but there is nothing like, because it's an autoimmune protocol, and they're taking those things out. So I'm reading about it at the moment, but
you'll have to know what it's.
I remember seeing on one of the EDS pages about certain supplements, and I was blown away because I had already started taking Claritin as an antihistamine. My family take Claritin and antihistamines because they suffer from hay fever, and I don't necessarily suffer from hay fever. But I didn't realise that there's so much histamine. I mean, there's histamine in cheese. I just didn't realise.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't eat a lot of dairy now anyway. Dairy is very much sort of something that is very willy-nilly with my diet. And gluten, I didn't think I had a deficiency in gluten, but then when I stopped just to try and see whether or not there was anything going on, but like, I wasn't a pasta eater anyway. I wasn't somebody who eats rice or pasta or bread or anything like that, but certain foods do, like gravy for instance, you don't realise has gluten in it. And once I stopped and made a cautious effort to make sure that I wasn't having anything like that, the difference is huge. And I'm like, oh, so that could be what's going on in my body, but that's my body, not anybody else's body. It's different for everybody else.
Right. I would venture to say, and Dr. Herbst and Dr. Eicher and all the, so many other people, I would venture to say that the majority of people with lipedema have a gluten intolerance, at least at a minimum.
Yeah.
And so, that is true. And I had spent, whatever it was, 15 years completely gluten-free until I had my diagnosis. And then
we all do it, Beth. We just go a little bit crazy because we've had enough of having to live life.
Well, exactly, but also
on the bread line all the time. And when I say that, bread doesn't even come into my life. Like my friend today, when we were out, we were actually at this amazing store 2 towns over, and it was a spiritual store, so I was really taken by all of this. And we decided to get some lunch on the way back, and she said, I'm going to get a roll. And I said, oh no, I've got gluten-free wraps at home, so if you want to grab something, because I know that I can't, even if I'm out somewhere, I can't eat that food. It will react on me and I will have to deal with it. And you feel like you're constantly getting up every morning to the same fight, which is true, you are. And if you are going to be an influencer or influenced in somebody else's life, or if you are going to be the person that they're going to look up to, then you've got to follow your own suit. And if you fall, you've got to admit you fall. And if you don't fall and you succeed and you move on to the next step, then you move on to the next step. But you take those people with you. Right. And that's what I feel that we're doing at the moment. So by talking about what we've done over the last 2 weeks, I know jolly well that there'll be somebody on here that will use this information to their own advantage, which is what we do.
Correct. Exactly. And to show, for me, I was in the world of perfectionism for so long and there was no if, ands, or buts. There wasn't any of that. It was, I share my story to let people know that they're not alone. that
Mhm.
you can be used to living the straight and narrow, and then get a diagnosis and be like, oh wait, what? Or have a pandemic and, decide that, hey, I'm going to live my life.
Yeah.
I'm happy to, report that I am essentially, as a matter of fact, I'm exactly the same number on the scale today, well, it's not today. I was exactly the same number on the scale on February, I don't remember, 6th or 7th of 2022 as I was on February 6th of 2020. Exactly the same. No
So
difference.
the thing
exactly
is for
the
me
same.
that you are very like you can do that. You can focus on whether or not you want to look at the numbers on the scale.
Right.
Whereas for me, my community, the people around me, I simply say that don't go anywhere near it, because the scale to me is the thing that drives us to think that we are bigger than what we actually are.
Well, that's true.
I always suggest
Correct.
to use a tape measure and use pictures. Pictures, if you can align pictures next to each other and the pictures look different, you've done something. You are succeeding in whatever's working for you.
Well, assuming that your pictures look better, smaller.
Yeah, but this is what I mean. So you're constantly going up against yourself in your own journey.
Correct.
And with the tape measure as well.
Right. Which my tape measure hasn't changed either. I think that maybe my tape measure, it depends on the day. Maybe it's an inch more than it was. But
when a woman has
depends.
has a monthly, like
right.
obviously
exactly.
I'm young, I'm slightly, I'm still in that stage. When a woman has a monthly and the week before it and the week of it, there is a 7 to 10 pound difference
right.
within the lipedema community.
Exactly.
I am not standing on a scale to see that number goes up to then mentally and emotionally screw with my head.
Correct.
When I can measure myself on a tape measure and I've gone up a couple of centimetres, and I know that it's all down to the fact that my hormones are playing around. At the end of the day, we know that our hormones are linked to lipedema.
Correct.
We also know that lipedema fat weighs heavier than muscle. I mean, come on, that in itself is detrimental to any woman in our community.
Right, and weighs more than a regular fat.
Exactly. Like, muscle, like, you've got to think about what muscle looks like compared to what lipedema fat looks like compared to what normal fat looks like. And if normal fat and muscle are put together and lipedema fat on its own weighs heavier than what actually the two put together, normal fat and the muscle, this is what we're up against. And I putting myself on a scale to see that mess with my brain, to mess with my psyche, to then me not sleeping or me questioning what I'm doing is working or looking in the mirror and judging myself, I'm not going back to that life, because I've come forward from that. And I teach my clients to move forward from that, because I don't want that toxic insult in their brain all the time, because that's all it is. It's an ego toxic insult that goes on inside the head, and it's not actually who you are or what you look like. It's
or what you've been doing,
what you imagine yourself to be. It's not what we see.
Right. That's very true. That is very true. I think that for me, I was in the stage of like, oh, the pandemic has
But then I take my hat off to you, because you're obviously very you've got a lot of confidence that you can carry on doing something like that. I know for me, it would screw me up.
Right. But you know what? I have to say that there was whatever. I mean, you know that I used to weigh daily, and just going to weighing once a week was fantastic. And then going to weighing once a month is fantastic, or not weighing at all, just not, but I think that I say that because I had convinced myself that my body had changed so much in the pandemic. And it was like, no, it hasn't. It hasn't.
No, it
had
hasn't.
I not had the scale, I probably wouldn't have thought that, because my clothes fit, the tape measure, anytime I did it, was really not changing, regardless of whether I was, being gracious with myself, or if I was on the straight and narrow. It didn't really change that much. So, to have that 1 to 2 inch thing in a lipedema body is like, it's negligible. It's absolutely negligible. And the rule that Dr. Herbst says that, the best thing that you can do for yourself is maintain your weight. And what is maintaining your weight for a lipedema woman? And that's staying within 10 pounds. Well, I think that most lipedema women would love to hear that, because they think, that, anything is a detriment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I agree. Completely agree.
And so, but, I know that because it was, again, you get, the things that come up, memories or whatever. And so I was looking at that date was the day that I did my first my first Valentine's photo shoot, and in 2020, and to just see that really there's really not that big of a, there's really not a change. There really isn't a change, other than what is, maybe visibly in my head. There's not really a change, because there's not. I mean, maybe my legs are less firm because they didn't have 2 years of, being in the gym doing weights like I had been at that time.
But you've got to look at what we do, the knee thing with me.
But yours for sure has changed in a way that it has tightened and all of that. But what I fail to realize is that the change that has come since May of last year, when I started taking berberine, that alone has to change everything. I mean, this was not like that when we were doing our exercise last year. I have my compression on right now, so you can't see it. My thighs from here to here are movable. You couldn't.
Well, I said to you the other day, I can't remember what the doctor's name is, but I did put the reel out that she was talking on, and she was talking about berberine, and I sent them a message saying that because of you seeing Karen,
right,
and what you'd been told, I then started to see whether or not it would work for me.
Right.
And I've seen a massive change.
Yeah.
I've also seen a lot of people message me and say to me, where do you get it? Because obviously now it's something that's being spoken about.
Yeah. It's linked on my Amazon page. It's linked on my Amazon page.
Yeah, it's linked on my Amazon page. These are English people.
Oh, okay.
And obviously it's linked on your Amazon page. You've thrown me. My clients, people that I know, have asked me, like, where is it? Does it work? Is it possible? Like, and until that came out, a doctor saying this is what it is, this is how it works, and it's in the standard of care. Like here in the UK, we are up against it because the standard of care is yours. It's the states. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It's not written here.
Right.
It's not something that's known.
Right.
So yeah, but it's all worked out. It's all working. And it's definitely something that I will be taking for the rest of my life, same as Claritin, for the histamine side of things.
Yeah.
But this is what I mean. I wasn't taking Claritin 2 years ago, I didn't know that was going to be something that I needed to put into my life. So we're learning all the time, aren't we? Every day is a learning curve. Every day I'll hear from somebody else, oh, I'm doing this, or, oh, I've got this information, or I've got a paper that you need to read. And it's like, oh my God, there's an answer. Let's try this. Let's see what happens. Right. I imagine my life for the rest of my life will be trial and error.
Right. Right. Yes. Yes. I do dream of a day where it doesn't have to be that way, though.
No, but I just don't.
I do dream of a day that there could just be, and we could just have the answers for our own selves. Like,
I mean, that would be the most perfect thing, wouldn't it? You're walking, like, the amount of messages that I get on a daily basis asking me what works and and my simple answer to every single person is, what works for me isn't necessarily going to work for you. Exactly. What's on my website and what you see on my Instagram or on my social media, if you wish to try it, because I can't say whether it is going to work or it isn't going to work. I had somebody ask me the other day, what's your go-to for lipedema, as in treatment? And I said the dry brush, without a shadow of a doubt, the dry brush. And my hands, because the sweeping technique is literally my hands. I don't need a tool. It's that, and then the dry brush. And that, to me, putting those two things together is a big part of helping yourself and your lymphatics. Like this morning, I put a very, very, very gentle reel out about something that I do every day that helps me to debunk or depuff my neck, which is where I have a lot of problems, where other people have a lot of problems with thyroid, lipedema in the neck. We know that I've definitely got it. We know that I've got EDS because the skin is so flexible on my neck. But if you eat the wrong food, which I had some foods over the weekend that didn't agree with me, it made my face puffy. And so I went back to square one. I'm dry brushing. My dry brush is by the mirror. You spoke to me about this last night and you said, I need to find 5 minutes. And I was in bed on the phone to you and I was like, well, this is what you do, 5 minutes on your legs and it's done. You're sat in your own bed and you're doing it. It's an easy option.
Right. Well, I decided today that I would go to a different area so that I didn't disturb anybody else and do that. So that was how I, so it is having to make, when you're only worried about yourself, then
yeah, but you're worried about waking up your son. I get that. So you're moving to the living room to do that.
Correct. But what was I gonna say? But it is finding finding ways, because I know that I was doing that as a part of the vibration therapy each day in the first thing in the morning, and I was able to get that sorted then. So I now just need to reconfigure and see how I can get it sorted again.
Okay.
So that's I did laugh because I did see the opening thing, and I was laughing because I was like, oh, I don't ever do it that gently. I was like,
I have tried to tell you so many times, you do it gently. So that it is your lymph is so fragile, that you just want to lightly tap so that you're opening those air, like you're opening the taps. Right. So yeah, I remember you saying to me once about how you did it on your neck. I remember you saying something and I was like, no, you do it it's even the same with every single treatment though, like with the fascia blaster. Right. When people say to me, how do you do it? I'm like, light and brisk.
Right.
Or like how you said it on the lipedema round table, like you would do it over your pants that you've got on right now.
Yeah.
So there's always ways of, oh, here she goes.
Look at aren't you impressed? I have it right here.
Yeah, I'm impressed. It's all in her office.
See?
Clever lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're doing it in a different way. It isn't the conventional way, but it's a way of doing things. And it's certainly where you're holding the lipedema within your compression, that works for you, which is fantastic.
So this is the reason why I do this is easier for me is twofold.
Yeah, because it's all held together.
It's all held together, so I don't have to get stops and starts as it goes across the fibrosis, and and also I don't have to create a whole nother step of lotioning up.
No.
So that is, now is this brisk enough? I don't know. Do I have to go faster? What do I?
No, you're doing great. Like whatever works for you, but it is consistency that gets you to the results. And it's the little things that you're doing on a daily basis that will bring you to the bigger results. Like with your arms, no, Beth, I don't want you doing that because your arms are not hot. And so I would have preferred you to dry brush them first. You need the heat to be in them so that you can manipulate them. So if you did that in the shower, your legs are different. You're in compression. So in compression, the heat will be circulating within the lipedema fat, and it works for you to do it that way. If you had your compression on
for 30
and
minutes.
you were in a sauna, or if you had your compression on and you had your legs on a hot water bottle, that would be even better.
Yeah. Yeah, I could do that where I go in the sauna, but I was doing that to show like that is not as comfortable. But actually, right now, my arms are absolutely freezing.
But if you had your arm up here, put your arm. Can you do that?
Yeah.
Now, if you had the blaster, you've got more leverage.
Okay. I did return that arm compression that I had got, whatever that was last month. I returned that because I didn't like how it ended.
I didn't like it either because it was collecting.
I didn't like how it ended.
All I kept thinking was your lower arm is going to create fluid and you're going to get cut off in that compression. Yeah, you needed it to be all the way to the wrist.
Which is, so I hear this. I don't spend a lot of time in the lipedema groups. However, I have been having more exposure lately. And the thing that scares me is that's really what it is. It scares me to see the ladies talking about just ordering their compression off of Amazon. And I'm like, ladies, like this is a medical condition that needs a proper medical garment. And so
but sometimes because you can't get the appointment to go and see the physician or the PT or whoever it is in America, especially here in England, it is, honestly, Beth, it is 6 months to a year wait for people who are needing to be newly diagnosed, and there's nothing like.
Yes, but what I'm seeing is
you can't carry on like that. It's So all they're doing. So yes, I am definitely somebody. These are IUGA. They are compression leggings, and I'd say probably about 80% of my clients, whether they are stage 1 to stage 3, I think. I don't think I can go any. I don't think we can get any bigger than that. We have looked, and it's what I wear for work.
Okay,
it's compression, and I get asked this all the time. Do you wear compression? I'm like, yeah, I'm in it every single day because I'm in it in leggings.
Okay, here's what I'm saying.
With my knee as it is at the moment, with my knees as they are at the moment, I can't wear jeans. I can't wear the normal clothes that I would normally wear at this very moment because my knees need to be supported, and I get that support when I'm in these leggings.
Okay. So here's what I wanted to say. What I wanted to say is that I did my own research on Amazon, and I picked a product because I wanted to see how did that product work for us. And it said that it had megahertz of compression, and it said blah, 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 whatever. It said that it was medical grade. However, I didn't know somebody personally who had used it. I was going to be the guinea pig for that.
Oh, cool.
And so what I'm seeing that I keep seeing people talk about on these groups is like, oh, I got whatever it is. And oh, you should all try it. And it's like, well, no, you really shouldn't all try it until we know that it actually works as a, in a medically approved fashion. So we know that what you're using works because you are proof that it works. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's
I do see that,
than
but I also see that there is so much struggle, and I do see that there is so much demand that they're taking it out of their own hands and trying to figure it out for themselves, which is sad because that's what they're putting in those groups.
Correct. Right. Or people going to the local stores and getting the the sport, leggings, real leggings. It's like, no, that's not working. So for me, any
kind of normal legging that you would get, like even for me, like Gymshark leggings or Fabletics, I couldn't wear them. They're not strong enough compression.
Correct. Well, I'm wearing them, but I'm wearing my compression underneath. So when I'm going to like right now, I have on, well, you'll see my feet, right? I have on my lipoelastic.
Yeah.
And there need a little pull up right now. As a reminder. But yeah, so that was a trial and error, and that did not work. And I was like, well, do I keep it because I bought it? And I was like, no, I don't keep it because I bought it, because that is not going to serve me. And I need to now find a proper one. And I think that if you're looking for compression, that you really do need to use an approved company. I just do. Or you need to use one that is known to work by somebody within the community. Not some popular.
No, I understand that completely. It's 7:15. I'm going to have to love and leave you because I've got to have some dinner.
Yes.
And then I'm really busy in clinic this week. So.
Excellent. All right. Well, I'm glad that we spent the time together. I
hope
that someone found some value in our.
Somebody, like I said, who's on this every single time. Somebody will find value in what we've got to talk about.
Our journey.
We're doing what we're supposed to do at the end of the day.
Absolutely, for sure. When
purpose-led life.
Purpose-driven lives are amazing.
They are.
So anyway, okay. Well, enjoy your dinner. Love to see you.
I will.
Thanks for joining. And we'll see you all again. Same time, same place.
We'll see you next week. We'll actually be doing something. We'll be getting those muscles working. All right, take care.
Okay.
Lots of love. Bye. Bye, guys.
Bye. Oh, what does that say?